Hello and welcome to this week's review of the latest episode of the My Hero Academia Vigilantes anime, and this week we're reviewing the episode titled Event Announcement. We kick off this review, as we always do with these reviews, by talking about the positives and the headline positives, all the big things I'm going to discuss over the course of this review. I love the creepier moments in this episode. The tweaks and alterations that have been made to this episode work well, and I find it builds its mystery out very well. It's time for us to address the spooky elephant in the room, because this is the creepiest episode that we've had thus far, for reasons that you're going to be well aware of if you've just seen this one, as this is an episode that really gives us a great idea as to how creepy B really is. Like, towards the start of the episode, we have that brilliant shot of her just standing in the corridor over the body of Knuckle Duster's wife, and just how that is all composed and put together, the lighting and just the art style there is just wonderfully terrifying. And then we get the moment a little bit later on where she visits her family, which is very well done. I will have to say is I do think that the colouring and lighting could have been better, but hey ho, it works very well for what it is. And oh, we get that recreation of the shot from the manga, which I end up using as the thumbnail for the manga review, and also I'm using for this one, but I think this version of it is far better than what we get in the source material. I will admit I think it plays a little bit too much into horror movie look for me, a little bit too grindhousey, like an Italian horror movie that was left in a swamp and the picture quality's gone down with it, but still, I don't think it's the special effect work and editing there overpowered it too much. I mean, this is the episode that really helps us to get a better understanding as to who B is, and let's be honest, B is really creepy, and it is great to have an episode that does play into that more, as up until this moment, B's presence in this series has been one that I think is, for the most part, rather underdeveloped, and it is watching this in the anime form, it does make that a lot more clear to me, as far as I'm aware there haven't been any moments from the manga involving her that have been cut, but with that said, it is good to get a bit of a greater grasp of who her character really is, as she doesn't really get much screen time either way, regardless of whichever version, and her role up until this moment in both the story of the manga and in here feels a little bit more like a Rita Repulsa kind of deal. Like, her whole deal here, her whole mission is to dispatch the thing that embiggens the villain so they can go out and cause problems for our cast, as well as just interfere and be a bit of a horrible monster kind of person herself. And, you know, that's just the way things go. She creates the problems and the bad guys for our heroes to deal with, aside from the times that they're too busy dicking around visiting their parents or whatever. And with everything said and done, we aren't getting much more here than we do in the source material, which I will admit is a shame. I do understand that you can't really do much of a deep dive into the character here without giving away certain aspects of her character, who she really is, what really motivates her, but even still, what we get in this week's episode, I think, is a great template of stuff that we could have really have seen more of throughout the presence of this series. Just have a little few scenes here and there which show just how creepy and weird and strange she can be. Spread them out a little bit. Yes, that would mean some new original material, some material that some people might consider filler, but I still think that it would have paid off greater, so that when we get to this side of things and we get the next level of that, it would have worked a lot better for me. But still, it is good because nonetheless, what we end up getting here, it ends up showing just how creepy and uncanny she can really be, because there's this great juxtaposition with how her character is designed. She is probably the most normal looking villain that we've had in either series up until this point. Yes, she is someone who can turn people into monsters for the hell of it, and murders people to give herself a cover for her true life story, this identity that she's created for herself, and then lives with those dead bodies and pretend that they're a real family. And all that stuff is creepy and weird without even getting into the bit with the bees appearing from... Oh god, I don't even want to think about it, man. Body horror! Glorious, more glorious body horror! Bees appearing from a girl's you-know-where! Frank Lennon would have been proud. Oh, Jesus Christ. But it's the fact that it's all done by someone who is just rather normal looking for the most part is what helps to play into that horror, into what makes a very compelling and creepy figure. And to be fair, it does help all that stuff, the body horror stuff, the dead body stuff, it helps to draw a line, a very distinct line in tone between this series and the main one. Like, there's some people that might be wondering why this is broadcasting at the time that it is doing, because, you know, in their heart and mind, oh, this is really no different to My Hero Academia. But you get episodes like this, which, yeah, this is why. This is more of an evening thing, more of a late night thing than a Saturday morning kind of deal. But I do enjoy this episode. The first half was great, and there is a part of me that wishes that it had got a little bit weirder or creepier, but as I've said previously, that would require creating more material. But I think the thing that really makes it work is that it's not so much the amount of material, but more so how that material is paced out. Or rather, there's a part of me that wishes that this creepier material had been better paced out throughout the episode, because, let's be honest, the episode is rather front-loaded with the spooky material, and that stuff fades off as the episode progresses forward. I mean, yeah, it leaves a hell of an impact, and I remember reading some of this stuff when I read it in the manga a couple of years ago, I think, at this point, and it made me feel really uncomfortable, but here, it's in a story, it's part of a wider episode, which has elements taken from other episodes here and there, and it does start to get a little bit lost in the noise, but still, it does have the impact that I think it needs to. I just think that it's an impact that, dramatically speaking, probably could have been more towards the middle or towards the end of the episode, but regardless, all the same, I still think the episode is well adapted for what it is, and it is paced well. Overall, beyond just the stuff that happens in the first half, I think the episode it's paced is very well, and the overall arc and feeling of the episode goes off very well as well. It's not like the first, or rather the second episode of this season, where it was very clear that those were two different episodes stapled together. Here, we don't have that same kind of feel to it, and that, yes, again, I would have liked the creepier stuff to be more present throughout it, but it fades off in a way which doesn't feel that conspicuous by its absence. And I think it only feels conspicuous to someone like me, who is more familiar with the source material, but regardless, it's a television program, and as a piece of television, it does very well. Now, I'm not going to go into a full discussion as to what changed between the manga to get it to the anime, but I do like the changes that have been done here for the most part. I mean, it's changes like the creepy corridor bit that I mentioned just before. The locations and order events are changed here and there. But I think that this stuff does work because I think it just saves some time just being able to reuse the same backdrops, and changing the order events does help to make the episode itself feel a lot more concrete and more like a singular storyline. And you've also got the stuff like in the manga, Captain Celebrity fights a Gamera parody, whereas here he's fighting a crab, which I understand why they changed it. And there's a part of me that wishes that they didn't, but I get it. I mean, I get it, and the location changes I get as well, but apart from those, I think the other changes that we made do work for the episode's favour. I think that, again, the creepy corridor moment works very well. Again, I'm not sure if it's in the manga or not. If it is, it might be done slightly differently. Order events changing, like I say, I think that helps with the flow of the episode itself. And the music video, the little commercial jingle part, is done very well here. Yes, you can argue that the digital aging they've done to it to make it look a little bit more vintage doesn't quite work, because it still has a very digital look to it. Like, it really should feel like it's something that someone's just dobbed off a VHS tape, but even still, it works fine enough. But I think that kind of thing to recreate the look of a more vintage, more legacy television program bit is something that worked better when we've had similar moments within the main series. But here, it does work. In the manga, it was just, oh, they just play it and you just have the text, the lyrics to it on the manga panel. But here, we get the full animation, and it works great. It really does, to a certain degree, feel like you're watching some cheap local TV commercial from the late 1970s to mid to late 1980s. It's charming, it's cute, it's totally keeping within the reality of what's expected of Pop and the other performers in this moment. Because let's address the elephant in the room here. Like, for here and now, Pop Step's biggest personal battle in this episode, and for what we're setting up for the remaining part of this season, is her getting ready to partake in a corporate event at a supermarket. She's not getting ready for some big tournament or training to fight some big evil villain or solving some great mystery or locating the 5 rings of Magneto. No, 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 no. She's getting ready to do a gig at the food court of a supermarket. It is so amazingly normal that it makes it fascinating. I mean, sure, unbeknownst to our heroes, Bee is planning her own schemes and plans and machinations for all of this, but the grand end moment of one of our main characters within all of this is doing something so normal that it borderlines on being subversive. Like, this character, at least for what is set up in the here and now, we're setting up for her to just do a gig. To just do a performance, to do a concert, that's it. In normal superhero fiction, she'd be training to take down some kind of big, evil, bad guy or getting involved in some heroic scheme or another. But no, they're just getting ready to do a performance at a supermarket. And whatever may be, will be, but in the here and now, that's all the building up to. And I do like that. It's just normal. It's normal in a very identifiable way. It's normal in a very mundane and human way. It's a character that's nervous about doing live performances, that gets a little bit of stage fright. It is a very normal, very human, very mundane thing to go through. And seeing it in a moment and in a series like this, I do like, because it is giving us a level of grounding that the main series itself often doesn't get into. Yes, there are hints of darker moments within the character of Izuku Midoriya, which is stuff that I've talked about in other videos, and within the extended cast when you're dealing with the more mundane matters of abuse and what have you, and societal expectations of people. Those are interesting aspects of those stories, but they are just major dramatic moments. They're major moments in any kind of story. With here, it's just a stage fright storyline. You know, not to undermine it, but it's just so normal that it's amazing to me. Now, to just wrap up the positive section, I do like how the mystery within this episode is developed and built out. As I say, this is the big episode that's really drilling down into the character of Bee and giving us an insight into just how creepy and weird that she can be. And this is an episode for at least a quarter of it where we get a focus investigation by Knuckle Duster and Soga, with that actually being shown and being the deep focus of those moments. The way that it's done keeps Bee as being a strange and enigmatic figure, with it only hinting as to who she may or may not be, with faint moments that can be best described as innuendo and hearsays to giving the audience things that they can speculate on as to what's really going on here. And this is stuff that I think works very well, and the episode itself gives us just enough time to get those ideas in the back of our head, so that it gives us ideas and things that we can theorise for coming episodes. With, of course, the pacing of all of this is going to be like the next episode and a half, but we'll see where all that goes when we're not getting to it, because we are setting up for a big confrontation between Bee and Knuckle Duster in the next episode, or next episode or two. The timing of all of this is going to be very weird for me. We're only 3 episodes away from it, and I'm not entirely sure if they can really run out a fight between these two for 3 episodes. It might be a 2-episode thing with some kind of wrap-up, I really don't know, but we'll see where we go for all of this. I'm interested to see how they can tie all this together, so it is definitely looking like it's just the first 4 volumes that are being adapted to this first series, which, yeah, it's very much keeping with our first 4 volumes are our Season 1! Well, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. But in any case, with that said, let us get into the negatives. And I don't have many negatives, but for me, the only one that can really spring to mind in this moment is I think that the vibe shift that we get in the episode, I'm not 100% sure if it works or if it undermines it. As I've said previously, like the first half, or at least the first quarter of the episode, is a lot more horror orientated. It's a lot darker, it's a lot creepier and more sinister. But then as the episode transitions along, it becomes more laid back and more silly, and starts to pivot more into the event planning and the event announcement stuff, which is stuff that I personally didn't get a kick out of. All that stuff, I enjoy it. I know for other people, they don't give a toss about it. For me, I enjoy it. But still, you have the wackier, silly, and goofier moments all the way through, until you get to like the final scene or so, where we got the setup for Bee and Knuckle Duster's confrontation. And I'm not 100% sure if they shift from the creepier tone in the first quarter to the increasingly more light-hearted one. I don't know if that quite works, because we go from some really creepy, strange, uncanny imagery to something that is just rather typical of the rest of the series. Both the main series itself and this one, where it's a little bit more laid back, bordering on the slice of life almost, and I'm not sure if that works for me, but it may just be because of just how this has all been tied together and how it's been adapted. It also might be more of a, almost a lost in translation thing, I suppose, in a different way, because I could see how an episode like this would be adapted in a more Western context. You would emphasise the creepier and horror more orientated moments. The bit with be with her family, quote, family, is something you'd probably end the first half with, if not end the episode as a whole with. That would be your big takeaway image. Of course, that would be the case if you're not immediately then going to get into the tease that Knuckle Duster is going to fight her, but I suppose you could do that at the end of next episode, but... And this is just it's just an industrial thing, I suppose, more so than it's necessarily a content or material kind of deal here. Again, I think the episode itself still works, but we'll get onto my overview thoughts in a moment. But it is that shift. It goes from stuff that is so creepy and weird and strange to then people just sat around discussing, okay, we're doing a gig at the supermarket. It's kind of like a karaoke thing, but not. It's a little bit weird, but still, I think the episode itself, for the most part, is able to pull it off. Though I think this just might be a taste thing more than anything else. With that said, let's get into the overview and say that I just really did enjoy the episode itself. I know this review is going to be on the shorter side, but there's not much really to say here, because a lot of it just works, and it works very well. It's not necessarily going to the places that, to quite the level that I wish it to, but at the same time, it's still a strong episode in and of itself. We'll see where all this goes in the next few weeks, but with that said and done, however, let's get into Comment Corner! It's time for Comment Corner, and this is another week where I realise, oh, I didn't reply to some of the comments. But anyway, we start off with Big X1, who says, this one was good. This, of course, referring to the episode Bob Descends. But I'm excited to see how they do the next part. That could be make or break for me. Thank you for the comment. The next part is only, by the looks of things, going to be about 3 episodes long, so... yeah, if it does break it, well, it's at the end of the season, so you might as well wrap it up and then not come back. But if you like it, well, you're going to have a bit of a weight on your hand. Next up, we have Jacko Lantoon, who says, and I'm going to mispronounce the names here, so forgive me. I think that Hideko Furushi Chori truly underestimated how much the audience was going to dislike the mom. I've checked fan discussion forums like Discord and Reddit, and they hate her. I mean, she's an abusive parent who smacks a baby with her quirk, which resulted in Koichi developing a psychosomatic mental block to the development of his own quirk. What was he thinking? Of course, this leads on to a wider discussion which goes on in the comment to Jack O'Lantern's comment, which, respectfully, I'm not going to read out all the messages there. There is a bit of a back and forth as to how much of this is supposed to be played for laughs or not, and for me, I get the feeling that the moment itself was supposed to be played for laughs, but even if it was, I think that it's still wonky. Like, on the one hand, if it was just the overbearing parent thing of like a Chi-Chi from Dragon Ball thing, yes, that would be overplayed and kind of annoying, but at the same time, we have the defiant moment of Koichi in this episode. So it's not just a gag, it's also a major character development moment. And doesn't quite land together, due in part also because the character of Koichi's mom isn't really here for that long for that to really work for me. And the other issue for me is just like wider within the tone of the series itself. Without getting too far into it, because maybe it's worth its own separate discussion video, but for me, the problem is the fact that this is a series where one of the recurring themes, especially in the main series, is about bad parenting and about abuse. So to then have an episode, or rather have a character introduced here, where that whole angle is played a little bit more for laughs, feels a bit tone deaf for me. It feels like not entirely reading the room, and I don't know when this whole storyline came out in the manga relative to the main series, but I think it's fair to say by this point that is a theme in the main series that have been well established, so to have more of a typical, just overbearing mum character who whacks their kids feels bad enough, but also you've got the character development thing of, oh, it creates a mental block with the character, and yeah, it feels odd. I mean, it feels odd regardless of this connection to the series, but being in a series like this, yeah, it just feels weird to me. Even if nothing else, like, you can keep the abusive thing, but I think it's something that needs to be more of a moment. It needs to be more of a storyline, whereas here, it's just done so quickly that it doesn't feel like much of an exploration. It's just something that happens and then we move on. It exists almost for the sake of giving us a great moment to end the volume, more so than is necessary to explore their character or explore that theme. But we'll see how all this washes out. With that said, however, let me know what you thought about this particular episode down in the comment section down below, and see you next time. Goodbye! Thanks for watching. Be sure to like, favourite, subscribe, click the bell, and do all the YouTubey stuff that YouTube wants you to do. Go on, it'll do me a power of good. Until next time, my friends, goodbye!